Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of Athlete's Journey, Winning on and off the field, a special podcast series looking at the financial journey of athletes through the eyes of some of Australia's most influential sporting figures. I'm Brent Reid, and tonight I'm here with Director of Athlete Wealth Management, Robbie Farah, and his former teammate, his former roommate, and a multimedia megastar, Beau Ryan. Welcome, Beau.
Hey, thanks. Good job, man. That was good.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
It's good to be here. I thought you were going to say former mate. That would have.
Mate.
No, but I thought you were.
He's an A-list celebrity now, so he doesn't talk to me.
Here we go.
It's too good for me.
Here we go. He's too good for here. I am. I'm here, aren't I?
He just hangs out with Cole Sandilands and
that I do not.
Johnny Brahim.
That I do.
For the uninitiated, take us through your
I do actually hang out with Kyle, though.
Your background, sporting / media background. Take us through the journey.
My media background, well, it started, I was actually living with Robbie when it all started. I was playing at West Tigers 2009, got a call off my manager, Wayne Beavis, who, it was around the time when Matty Johns left the footy show. And a window opened up for someone to come and just do, not replace Matty Johns, but just come and do some light stuff. And Gary Burns, who was the EP of the footy show at the time, was friends with NU Beaver, and he also knew Sammy Ayub, Robbie's manager.
Because I'd been talking to Sammy because Bowie came and lived with me for a couple of years, and the way you see Beau on TV or radio is the way he is in real life. Annoyingly funny, but just relentless.
So are you claiming
Well, Sammy did. No, well, Sammy, he told Sammy.
Well,
Sammy saw it.
And I said, you got to get this guy on TV.
Yeah.
So Sammy knew Gary Burns and
Sammy told Burns.
Well.
Yeah, Sammy and Beaver are mates. Sammy told Burnsy, and then Burnsy called obviously Beaver and myself, and we went and met him one. I want to say it was a Tuesday because the footy show's Thursday. I want to say it was a Tuesday. And I wanted Robbie to come with me, but he was flat out stretching or doing some shit. And Chris Hynington come with me.
Okay.
And we went and met him at the old cottages. And Burnsy, we chatted for about an hour, me, Beaver, and Hino and Burnsy, and chatted for about an hour. And he said, tomorrow, do you want to have a bit of fun? And we'll take a camera down to Leichhardt. And I went to Leichhardt after training on the Wednesday and did just like a street talk. And like this, when the camera come on and the red light come on, I just felt, I don't know, mate, it felt good. I felt, the piece of camera was shit. And looking back, it was awful, but I just felt this rush that I wanted to do that again. And then again.
Comfortable, you felt comfortable doing it?
I felt
I was more comfortable than he was on the footy field.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think comfortable. Comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable. The comfortable was not the word. I felt excited.
Yep.
And I think that's what it does to you, the camera or, doing different types of media, whether it's radio, podcast, whatever. And I really enjoyed it. And we're doing like Vox Pop Street Talk stuff, which I enjoyed. Yeah. And we aired it on the Thursday night. And literally since that first one on the Thursday, then pretty much did footy show constantly until 2018.
You did have a rugby league career. We shouldn't forget that, obviously.
I did have a rugby league career.
Tell us a bit about that. Like, go back, because when we met you came from the South Coast.
Yes.
You were sort of chipping away in the lower grades at the Tigers. When did you start? When did you sign your first contract? How much was it?
At the Tigers?
Yeah, well,
okay,
professional contract?
Yeah, I was at St George.
And the years battling through in the lower grades.
Yeah. I started at Illawarra, grew up in Albion Park, then went to West Illawarra because we didn't have a team for Albion Park. Went to West Illawarra, played. There's 2 comps, Group 7 Illawarra. It was a bit stronger, the Illawarra comp, went to that one. And then made the Steelers team. And then when you got to, I think at the time it was about 18s or 19s, it merges Dragons to Dragons. So we had a pretty hot team in Illawarra. And then in the under-20s, when it merged to the flag, because they kept changing the flag ages. Remember when they kept doing that under-20s flag and all that? We had a team in the under-20s at the Dragons that was white hot. And I was playing centre, fullback at the time. And probably our best 3 or 4 players were all outside backs. Like we had the Morris brothers, Jason Nightingale, Ben Jeffries, who was a gun. He was a great player. Darryl Millard, who was the next big thing in the centres. So the back line was stacked, and we won the comp that year, and we won it quite easily. And a lot of the guys went up into, it was like, I don't know if it was training trial or like full-time, and I didn't. It sort of affected me a bit because I thought my form was good. So the following year I played the old Premier League reserve grade, and it was hard. It was hard, and I was sort of working and playing that, and I had a good season in 2006. And at the end of the season, wasn't taken into the full-time squad, and that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to have an opportunity to train with the full-time first-grade guys, whether it was a pre-season or whatever. So I remember sitting after training one day, and I was sitting with Steve Price, who was the coach at the time, and Peter Jennell. He knew Peter Jennell, and he made a call, and he said, "Mate, I think you got what it takes, but there's so many people here that are training in the first-grade squad that are in front of you." We had obviously Gaznia and Cooper. They'd signed a lot of other guys from out of area, then the Morris brothers, Nightingale. So there was a lot of people in front of me, and I knew that. So I went up to the West Tigers on a training trial, like a pre-season contract. That was over 12 months. So it was a 12-month contract. So it was 20 grand, which was hard to live off, and did the preseason there. But the thing about that contract, I had one Tigers shirt and one Tigers singlet. So that's all I had, and 2 pairs of shorts. So I remember when I used to get home from training in Wollongong, so I'd drive up, train at Concord, drive home, get home about 8 p.m. Cara, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, she's now my wife, we'd wash our clothes, and then I would, on the way up on the passenger side, dry the singlet and the shirt, and had a good preseason. I had a strong preseason and showed enough to get a game in 2017. To get a game in 2007, and had areas I needed to improve and things I wanted to work on, and stayed in first grades from then.
What are you proud of about your rugby league career? What's the most?
I took the long road.
Yeah.
I took the long road, and I'm proud that I stayed at it because I played with a lot of good players down my way from Wollongong. Brent Stewart was unreal. Brent Stewart was another level, and he had a lot of hurdles growing up with his diabetes, his back injuries. He had in and out of surgery from a young age. But there was other kids in our age group that were guns that never played grade because they didn't want to go the long road. They didn't want to back themselves or not work and just try taking a sacrifice and doing a pre-season somewhere or going out of town. They didn't want to do that. And I still see some of the guys, and they'll always say to me, they go, "I was better than you, man." And I go, you definitely were. Yeah. You were.
And I can attest to that too, like without disrespecting Bowie, and he'll tell you he wasn't the most talented winger, he wasn't the fastest winger or the biggest, but the thing I remember about him was his work ethic. And like you said, when he got the opportunity to come to us and do a pre-season, he pretty much demanded to get picked because of the way he trained. Yeah. He was out the front of all the fitness drills. He did everything right, ticked every box. And it just goes to show sometimes it's not about the talent. It's about how hard you work.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you got to have talent, right? But there were guys that were more talented in front of me, and there was guys with easier roads, I'm not going to lie. And I remember at the time, Daniel Fitzhenry, I could see a lot of myself in him. And he sort of took me under his wing. Robbie obviously did, and we'll get to that. But he sort of showed me the things, what it is to be like to be a first grader. And I did all those little things and made sacrifices. But literally anyone in front of me in training who, because you do possibles versus probables, like reserves versus first, and I was always in the reserves. Literally who was on the other side of that, whether it was, at the time, I think it was Shannon McDonald, Nick Youngquist, they kept signing blokes. I'm like, I made it personal, man. I'm literally taking your fucking head off. Like, it's on. Every time they ran the ball at training, you have something I want. And that's all I did. Even to the point when we signed Lottie. Taniela Tuaki was the best winger in the world. And then they signed Lottie. And I said to Sheensy, "Mate, what's going on here?" He goes, "Oh, we got Lottie Takiri." And he ended up being one of the best wingers in the comp that year. I said, "Well, who are you going to pick on the left wing out of them two?" And he laughed. And then unfortunately Taniela got injured, but I was prepared to I was ready to die for the jersey.
You said your first contract was 20 grand. We'll get on to your financial journey.
Why are you laughing at that?
Point. Well, no, I'm just thinking, what did you?
Well, my first contract before that when I was young was like when in schoolboys and that. Like I played schoolboys and you signed a Steelers contract and all that. Yeah. But to a proper NRL one, it was 20.
So 20 when you got your start at the Tigers.
Yeah.
And then you obviously would have got upgraded when you made the NRL. What was your first contract then and what did you do with it?
To go into top 25.
Top 25?
It was the minimum amount, which was...
What was it at that point in time?
It was 50.
Yep.
But what happened, they signed me on the minimum contract and everyone was on, I think it was $3,000 or $2,000 match payments. I've never told this story. So what happened was they needed to save money. For some reason, West Tigers always had cap problems. And it was like, I'm not sure how we had cap problems because we didn't have the teams of, your Melbournes, Broncos, Roosters and all that. But I remember my manager rang me, Wayne, and he said, mate, they've offered you this $50,000, which was a lot of money to me back then. But he said, are you going to play? I played 3 games in 2007. He said, are you going to play much first grade? I said, yeah. He said, do you think you'll play majority? Like, are you going to be in the team? I said, 100% I'm going to be in the team. He said, how about this? How about we sign for 20 again or 25? We don't take a top deal. But every game you play, you get $4,000, not $2,000. But every game you play adds on to the next year, and then it does it again and again. And I went, because at that time I'd been living off 20 grand, which was really hard. And I knew that extra 30 grand was going to be a lot for me and my partner at the time. But I also backed my ability. And I played 20-something games that year and then played nearly every game the year after. So by the third year, I had caused a huge cap problem for the West Tigers. So it was like they had to re-sign me on default.
You mentioned you managed there, Wayne Beavis passed away late last year. He was your manager your entire career, right? I assume he was really important in your financial journey, right? You had him from the start. What was the message he gave you from the start with your money, and how important was that for you?
Financially, his message? His message was to buy property, invest in property. And you got to understand, when I met Beaver, he would have been 60 odd. So he'd been around, and an accountant by trade, a guy that's seen it all, obviously. And he was very passionate about me and everyone who was under him, in terms of players, buying property. And I was a good saver, considering I didn't earn a lot of money, but he helped me and shaped me financially, and literally pretty much all I've got, not all of, but all the decisions I made, I'd ran through him, or he'd call me and give me a nudge and the confidence to do it. And he was the one. He was the one with property, because every year we would go down to, it was called Zigolini's in Wallara, and then it was Lux after that because Zigolini shut down. And he would go away for the December, January every year to the Gold Coast. But when he come down for that week, we would go to Zigolini's and we'd sit there, and one of the papers, I won't say which one because you might work for him, would say how house prices are going to come down. And I think I remember from about, say, 2010, I want to say, he started doing this, 2009 maybe. And he said, we buy again, or we buy this year. And I'm looking at it going, but hang on, the media are saying that house prices are going to go down. And I've finally got enough money to buy a house while we buy a house. And he said, mate, it's been saying it for 40 years. And he still did it until he passed away last year. We still have the same conversation.
So I just want to ask a question too. Obviously, Beavis was a massive influence on you. I can imagine, and I've been there, where you start earning more money. A lot more people come to you with different tips and ideas, or invest here, invest there. How do you weed out the good advice from the bad? And maybe give us an example of maybe one of your best financial decisions you've made through your footy and media career, and maybe one of the worst you've made.
Yeah, it's a good question. I put a lot of trust in Wayne, and people that know me know that. I've got a lot of friends, and in our game we've got a lot of friends, right? We've got a lot of people we know, but in terms of your friends or your mates, people that you've had for a lot of the people in my circle I'd met through Wayne, and especially in terms of finance, whether it's my accountant and solicitor, they're all people that I've met through Wayne. So, and I did put a lot of trust in him, but he didn't trust people easily, and he could smell a rat very, very quickly. So if he advised me against something financially, without question, I wouldn't even make that decision or go and make a risk. But in terms of how do I mean, he's the filter. Beavers was the filter. But there are things and opportunities that come up, and I would ring him and, try and talk him into it. And there would have been many, many meetings and things that I'd get him and drag him to, or we'd go and meet someone. But we would never make a decision quickly. But there was a time in, I want to say 2012-ish, where there was a proposition that come to us from an American company, and I won't say who, but it was a group of hedge fund guys. It was big money. But what they were doing at the time, 2011, 2012, where they were literally buying the rights to a profile person. They'd done it for an NFL player. They'd done it for a couple of other, might have been basketballers or college people, and they would pay them X amount at the start, and every contract they get after that goes straight to them, which sounds crazy until you get the offer. And I'd never seen money like that before. And I remember meeting these guys, these Americans in Wallara, and they come and they tabled an offer. So it meant if I was playing for whether I was playing for the Tigers or Sharks or Channel 9, all that would go through to them. And at the time, we'd a Channel 9 rep come and an NRL member from the Sharks would come, and they've never seen anything like it. So, and it was a lot different back then, the NRL and, working with footy clubs. It's much harder now to, third-party deals and stuff like that. But back then they were tabling things that people had never seen. And we got an offer to basically someone wanted to buy your rights or your profile, or literally buy your IP.
Yeah.
And every job you do, you work together, whether it's an MC gig or a Rex owner ad or a bloody podcast, goes through them. But the amount of money on the table was ridiculous. And I was yes. Because I was like, this is us forever, set. But as I get older now and start thinking about the way my career's gone and things that have happened in my life and family, I thank God I didn't make that decision, because it was a serious amount of money. So Beaver essentially saved me from that. But he was always my filter. I struggle with it now, to be honest with you, because I get things pop up all the time and people asking questions about, whether it's jumping into a syndicate or stock or whatever it is, and I don't know enough about it. Without him at the moment, the more people I talk to, and sometimes the more people you talk to, the harder it gets, the more confusing it gets. So at the moment, my answer is no to a lot of things, unless you give me some advice, because you're a financial guy now. You're doing finance now or some shit, which is great.
We should ask.
Which is always good, because Robbie's smart, mate. Robbie is smart. And a lot of rugby league guys that we played with, or we know, didn't finish up with a lot, who earn a lot more money than me and a lot more money than a lot of the people that I know, because of decisions made. And I thank God that, even when I lived with Robbie, we didn't live beyond our means. We had fun when we had fun. Yeah. But even when I was earning really good money, we weren't living a lavish lifestyle, because we knew how hard it was to earn money. Mm. And I think because of blue collar people too, Oh
no, you said earlier before we started was when you come from nothing.
Yeah.
You sort of appreciate it.
That's right. You don't need a lot. If you come from nothing, and I want to be respectful about it. My family did a great job from us. My mum and dad. My mum's still working, but we didn't have a lot growing up, so I don't need a lot. And my wife's the same. Robbie's the same, mate. We're people that our values aren't and our everything that we live for and live around doesn't revolve around money.
We should ask on that. Obviously, you're now a high-profile breakfast radio host on Triple M. When did you realise your footy career was coming to an end, and your media career was about? Was there a point at which you thought, okay, it's time?
Yeah. 2012, when the year I retired, I had no surgeries in top grade. I had no surgeries whilst I was from 2007 till 2012. And I remember I did a medical when I left the Tigers, and the Sharks physio said, mate, literally no notes. I've never seen anyone in sync like this. And it was because I had no surgeries. And then after that, I couldn't stop getting surgeries. Started with like a knee scope, then an ankle, little things, and which ended up leading to the neck operations. But that year coming back from the neck, 2014, my mind was more on media than it was footy, that last bit, which never should be that. It never, ever. And I was talking to someone recently, I won't say who it is, and they'd retired last year and had a really good long chat to them, and they said the same thing. They go, my heart's not there. You cannot play NRL and not be all in. It's not fair on your team, it's not fair on the fans, and most importantly, it's not fair on yourself. So I knew I would have had to make a decision. And then when it flared back up and I needed more surgery, that was my decision made.
Was there a point we talked about you don't need a lot, right? When you don't come from it, you don't need a lot, right? So when you were playing footy and you were on those, wouldn't say small contracts, but they weren't significant money. Did you splash out and anything? Did you do yourself, give yourself a pat in the back and go on?
I didn't, no.
Splurge?
No, I mean, I had money tied up in property a lot. And when I say tied up, every time I felt like I'd get in front to go and buy something, Wayne would say, Cara, my wife and I, and sit us down. He said, I reckon we do this. And it was, now the best thing that has ever happened, outside of kids and wife and all that shit, respectfully. But I would put it into property, and history would show that it was a good decision because, he'd show me clients before that, and he said, it's up to you. But if I was you, I would do this. To the point sometimes where we'd be looking at a place and he goes, buy it. And I'm like, I don't know about this one. He goes, if you don't buy it, I will. So I don't know whether he trapped me, but I end up buying it. But in terms of spend, I'm probably spending more now because I've changed my mindset and my mind around it all. I travel a lot, holidays, experiences. We travel a lot. But even to the point I wanted to go. I feel weird spending money on myself. I don't know what it is, and I'll probably sound like a dickhead. But when I retired, I went and bought my manager a really nice watch, and it was expensive. And I gave it to him the day I retired from rugby league as a thank you for everything he's done.
Still waiting for my watch.
I owe Robbie one. But I also did it because Freddie did it to him as well when he retired. And Freddie and I were just fighting for his love, who was number one the entire time. But when he passed, his partner Gail gave it back to me. And I find it hard to wear, I'll be honest with you. So I'll probably just keep that in the family, but I can't just go buy a Ferrari or something like that. No.
How's your financial?
Did you just look at your fucking watch? Were you like winding me up, or were you just proving that you got a fucking Rolex?
No.
But he's got more money than fucking Germany, man. Why would he need anything?
Well, obviously, you said you don't come from a lot, you don't need a lot.
Yeah.
But you're in a position now where, with due respect, you probably got a lot, right? You're on TV, you're on radio, pays pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, how does your financial view of the world change, or how do your financial decisions change when you suddenly, as you said, you don't need a lot to live and you don't want to spend a lot of money, but surely you're more comfortable now. You're saying you take a trip. Yeah.
Kids. Because I was talking to someone the other day, and all you want to do, I think in life, right, the object of life, in my opinion, is give your kids a better life than you had. That's all it is at the end of the day. My mum and dad didn't come from a lot, but they gave us everything they could. We're giving everything to our kids we can. But that's probably my biggest struggle as well, because I am in a position to give my son and daughter things that I didn't get and have. And that's a wrestle I have constantly, because you don't want to give them too much and teach them the right, to be grateful. But I'm in a comfortable position now because of all the sacrifices I made. but it can go quickly too, mate. It can go very quickly as well. There's only so much property you can try and buy. I mean, back in the day, you know.
What about, so obviously property's been the foundation of your financial sort of
And for you too.
stability. Yeah, and
for you
myself,
too.
I spoke about it on the podcast I did with Brent last year.
I
where-
learned a lot off Robbie's too. I learned a lot off him, man.
Yeah, property was the foundation of where you are now. Have you sort of dipped your toe into other businesses, other investments away from property? I know you're involved with a gym.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, to be fair, my mentality with business is people underestimate how hard it is to run a business. My wife ran a business, and pretty much when I was starting in the NRL, so she was running a business full time, and I saw it firsthand. And it's full on. I mean, you guys know. So I've done some stuff and taken shit and been a shareholder in a business, and I've been an ambassador for businesses, but I don't usually take those risks. There's parts of me sometimes that want to do that, but I don't know. I feel like if I did a business in terms of running one, I'd have to be all in, and I'm talking working in it. Whether it's a cafe or a bloody Foot Locker, it doesn't matter what it is. I feel like you got to be there, and I can't commit to that at the moment.
You mentioned, we spoke about Wayne earlier, and he was your filter, like that, and you said it's difficult now because you don't have a filter there, and so you basically almost say no to a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
At some point, do you think you'll start looking at other things or consider other things, or you think
Investing wise? Yeah. I'd be stupid not to, right? In saying that, I've got a guy who I work with now, Rami Katami, who I'd get a lot of advice off, and I bounce things off him. But I feel like I'm in a position now, I'm at the age and I've got enough experience to make decisions myself. And again, what was that quote, Robbie, you told me before? I won't use it. It's yours. It's yours, man. You take it. You own it.
If there's any doubt, there is no doubt.
That's right. So because I'm very conservative with it, I'm always on the no side, but there's also that challenge bit, that little bit of risk versus reward.
But you can take a bit of risk, right? When you've got the foundation and the basis
when you got the
of your
foundation,
portfolio, yeah.
well, you got the foundation, the trust, and if you got, if there's good examples in the history that you're working with, whether it's stocks, shares, I don't know, business, whatever it is, if by the time I've sussed everything out and watched it or do whatever for the next 6 months, it's already gone past the investment I could have made. So,
how do you define success?
Success,
What?
peace. Success is peace. People say success is happiness and all that, but what is happiness, man? If you can sleep at night knowing that you are doing the right thing for your family and your friends, and that peace of mind, whether it's business or, even playing a footy game, mate, if you can come off the footy field knowing you've given everything, you've got peace within yourself. If you don't have peace within yourself, mate, it leads to all sorts of shit. And I've been down all of those roads. Peace is success, mate.
What about what advice you give a young version of you back when you first started out?
Or a young athlete coming through today.
A young me or a young athlete's two different words of advice.
Maybe a young athlete. A young athlete in today's world, and especially like managing finances away from the sport, or knowing what you know now and how a career can go for a particular athlete.
Yeah.
What decisions would you make as an 18, 19-year-old? Or what would you tell a young athlete to do to look after their money off the field?
It's much harder now, man. It is much harder now. Not saying it wasn't hard when we were coming through, but it is. There's so many options and there's so much noise everywhere. Social media, whether it's stuff online or people trying to make a quick buck. It's usually the long road. I've always taken a long road with my career or my financial decisions, even my relationship. But that's what life is, right? It's not easy. There's no shortcut to anything. There's no shortcut to running a successful business. There's no shortcut to playing NRL. There's no shortcut to making money on an investment. It's all patience, hard work, timing. but you got to be able to be prepared to do the long road. And you've either got that in you or you don't. Also mentors, man. I'm really big on mentors. When something happens to someone, a rugby league player or an athlete, I look straight away, who's around them? Who's in their circle? You've always had great mentors. You've got obviously a beautiful family, and your manager and other people around you have held you accountable. I've always had people holding me accountable. If you don't have a mentor, and not just for footy, but for life, and you're doing it as a young athlete, girl or, male, female, whatever you are, whoever, whatever you're playing, you'll get lost pretty quick because so many people want to get your attention for the wrong reasons. Thank God Beaver was around, for me. Otherwise, mate, I'd be in Silverwater or Long Bay. Robbie, look, as much as we give each other a hard time, I do owe a lot to Robbie because not only did I live with him and he didn't charge me rent because he's a tight ass and he brings it up all the time.
I'm a tight ass.
Yeah, because you bring it. I know, but you bring it up all the time because it's like if you let me finish. But he was a huge part of my life because it was the most crucial in terms of my career because it was that 2007 to 2010, 11 period where I was able to do media as well at the same time. And when he showed me not only how to be a professional, but more importantly, how to be a friend, because you retire and there's only so many people you talk to after, man. There's only so many people you talk to after. And when you take the field with people and you play all these games and, it feels like, you got this bond forever, which we do, but everyone moves on to their own things. And we all get busy in our own lives, but I do owe him a lot. I seriously owe him a lot. Yes, money, but him and his family did look after me a lot, and I'll look after him one day. There's not enough people that played the game with influence giving people who are athletes the right advice because it's transactional, man. Everywhere you look in life, it's transactional.
You must know players that you guys played with who now are – I'd imagine there's a sprinkling who are struggling financially who haven't.
I'd say majority. I would say majority. I would say over 60% of the guys I played with, not struggling, but it's hard for them. And we earned good money. Like, don't get me wrong, we earned great money, but everyone was on good money, when we were playing. Like, because property wasn't what it was. Cost of living wasn't what it was. Wages weren't where they are now, but still you could buy property, you could save money, you could have a plan. And people didn't follow that. And it comes back to mentor. But at the end of the day, you make your own decisions, but we're all in the same boat. And I think they do need a lot of help. I don't think the NRL does enough. There you go, I said it. They don't do enough. It's a lot of box ticking, man. And I've got no reason to be for or against the NRL saying that. I just think that more can be done for players whilst they're playing. Clubs have a responsibility, the NRL have a responsibility, and the athlete has a responsibility.
Okay, well, there you go.
Don't you agree? Do you agree?
Yeah, we've spoken about it, and I guess that's why we're doing what we're doing because as you said, it's you are earning good money, but it's only a short space of time you're in the game. If you're lucky, it's 3-4 years, or it could be 3-4 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Well, the average used to be 37 games, man.
Yeah, and you're earning 60 or 70% of your lifetime earnings by the time you're 30, 35 years old.
But you've got to look at that like a positive, man.
It's a positive if you're smart with it and make the right decisions, like you said.
Decisions early on.
Exactly.
Well, when I was on 50, there's guys that I know who I'll ring straight after this who I know. He was on 350. And my son's got more money in his pocket that he's got now. But
he lived the lifestyle that he was on 350 because they feel like the well's never going to run dry.
But that's not it, man. That's not it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, Beau. Obviously, some important messages in there for people out there who are planning their financial journey. And as I said, great to have you on, and stay tuned for the next episode of Athlete's Journey.
Thanks for having me. What was that saying again, brother? Give it to me, man. Come on.
If there's any doubt, there is no doubt.
There you go.
There you go.